Hey, this is Steve Good on the Coin Chat with Yuri Cataldo, and we are joined today by a very special guest, Jonas Rubel, who's the managing director or the regional head for Zen, or not Zen Cash, I'm sorry, it is Horizen. I knew I was going to make a mess of that.
You've already botched this.
I've already botched it.
We're like 30 seconds in.
I know, it didn't take long. Well, listen, people know who Zen Cash is, but now called Horizen.
Horizen, there you go.
Horizen for the rest of the show. So there you go. So Jonas, welcome to the show. Lots of things to talk about. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Very
yeah.
So first off today, we of course the reason we're doing this episode in part is because we have a major announcement from Horizen, which I'll leave it with you to tell everybody what's happening. It's really exciting. So over to you. Tell us what's happening in Horizen.
So yeah, we have a nice little project that we've been working on for the last couple of months, and it's called the Horizen Academy. So it's basically going to be an educational platform where we have divided content into several topics, like the history of crypto and blockchain, from the early cypherpunks over Satoshi to how the first altcoins emerged, and obviously technology. And privacy, so privacy in general, not just for cryptocurrencies and blockchain, but also how you can protect your devices, how you can use a VPN, all that kind of stuff. And what we did is we put the content, so we basically have the same content 3 times. One time for beginners, one time for advanced readers, and one time for experts, what we call them. And so whenever you're reading an article, for example, let's say you care about hash functions, and so you're in the technology section and you're reading up on hash functions, and you figure, hey, this is way too difficult, I don't get it. You can just switch to beginner mode, and you have the same content.
Oh, cool.
Explained in simpler terms and shorter versions, simpler graphics. If you feel, hey, this article is not telling me anything new, you can move up one level and have the same content with more detail. And then in the expert sections, you will find little code snippets, and so. Wow, basically everybody, no matter how much knowledge he already has, should be able to learn a lot on our platform.
This is a platform that's going to be like a subscription service, or it's free, or
it's free and open source. So
wow,
we've built a custom website for it with that feature. I originally got the idea from I don't know, have you guys heard about the CS50 course from Harvard?
No.
It's an online course on computational science. Okay. Everybody who's looking into learning how to code, that's a really good starting point. And they have this with their reference, where you can actually choose if you want the easy version or the difficult version or the complete version. Yeah. And that's where I picked up the idea. So that's what we did with our content. And then we have a few sections. So for example, history, we didn't divide it up in several levels because I don't think it makes too much sense.
Interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been what I've been working on mostly over the last.
So that's a big announcement for Horizen to be putting this out to the market to really help people of all levels to really accelerate their skills and their knowledge. Now, how do people that want to check out the Academy find it? So we'll put the link down below in the description for YouTube. But those who are listening on Spotify or Alexa or Apple or other channels, just want to tell us what the URL is, and I'll also flash it up on the screen.
You can just find it via our main website, so horizen.global, and there's going to be a link on top. It's integrated in our regular website, and from the Academy web, it's just basically another subpage.
Got it.
So it should be easy to find for everybody.
Horizen is HORIZEN or ZEN, depending on where you are in the world. .global, which is global. And from the top now, there will be a new academy so people can find it, which is, of course, there now. So that's fantastic. That's really, really cool. Okay, great.
And what's also what I'm actually pretty proud of is that we got quite motivated team members. And so we will launch with English only, but we are quite advanced on Chinese, French, German. Spanish is a little slower, but we're getting there. So
at least if you want to learn Chinese, you can just check out the Horizen website and learn Chinese blockchain starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the guy
no better way to learn than right now.
Yeah, the guy that does the translations always submits the articles, and then I look at them once in a while, and I just figure, okay,
I trust him.
Yeah,
Sure.
short as well. So like that much of a paragraph gets down to like one line, and I'm like, are you sure everything is included in there? But I mean,
Yeah.
he'll
Very
be fine, I
cool.
guess.
So, okay, great. So if we shift gears a little bit and we talk about,
Yeah.
you know, Jonas, the crypto blockchain privacy guy, I think Yuri and I would love to ask some questions just about who you are and how you got into this.
Yeah, sure. So I actually come from a whole different background. I studied chemistry before that. And it was during the last exams of my studies that I came across Bitcoin for the second time in my life. Actually, I heard about it in 2013, but didn't really follow up on it. And then this time I decided, well, I now want to understand what this is all about and how it works. And so yeah, I started digging, and then I kind of fell down the rabbit hole and followed it even further. And then I came across, back in the day, Zencash. And I met Arno Pfefferling, which is the European lead, at a conference in Germany. And I talked to him about if they could use any help, if it was just, at this point, the website was only available in English, or at least not in German. And if they could need any help with that or with white paper translation whatsoever. And so we stayed in contact, and shortly after, in April 18, I joined the team. Officially, I'm the country representative for Austria, Liechtenstein, Switzerland. And so I've been to quite a few conferences, but then it didn't take too long when until I found the folder in our G drive called Zen Academy, and it was empty. And I thought, well, this sounds interesting. I also work for the university as well, so I'm a lecturer on the side, and so I kind of have an affinity to education.
Great.
So I just started asking around who'd be interested in picking up that project again. And then over the summer, we kind of sharpened the profile a little bit.
Yep.
And then, yeah, after summer, I started putting together content, and not just me, also the team. I have a graphic designer that's working on it, and the web developer, obviously, building the website. So yeah, that was how I got from not encrypted to today.
Wow, interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah. So okay, so now let's talk about Horizen and you know what privacy is, because I know there's a lot of different privacy coins out there. There's probably more than maybe there's more than we need. Are there more? That's a question. Are there more privacy coins than we actually need out there right now?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an exact count of how many projects consider themselves to be privacy coins. I mean, the best known ones, we already talked about them before we started recording. Yeah, you name them. There's a bunch.
We don't have to name your competitors on this episode, but maybe you could give us some examples of what the differences are for those who don't really understand what privacy coins are, other than it keeps you private. What distinguishes these projects at some sort of a high level that gives people an appreciation of the differences?
So I think the easiest way to separate them is the approach they're using, or the technique they're using to preserve your privacy. So basically, there's three options. First is coin mixing, which were the first approaches. So basically, a bunch of people send a transaction to a pool. The different UTXOs get mixed and then get redistributed to their destination. But the thing is, for example, if I want to do a really large transaction, it's quite easy to link my input to the output, and then the whole procedure is basically irrelevant again. And then the next iteration of this mixing was that everybody can only throw the same denomination in the pool. So everybody has to throw 0.1 Bitcoin in there, something like that. But with advanced data analysis, it became feasible to break that privacy again. And also, it's not very often that you have a bunch of people wanting to use that service at the same time. So then there needs to be kind of a liquidity provider that throws in like fake transactions in there, so your transaction has something to get mixed with in the first place.
Oh, I see. Right. Otherwise, it's so obvious who's and what's what. Right.
I can be mistaken with this one, but I'm like 99% sure. So that's what Dash basically uses the large stake of the masternodes for, partially. is that they have sufficiently large liquidity to do this mixing procedure.
I see. Okay, interesting.
So, and then there's a second approach. That's what Monero uses. It's based on ring signatures, or with Monero, it's actually ring CT, which is an advancement of that. And basically what you can do is you have a group of people, and basically all of them sign a transaction. And in the end, an observer can say one of those people definitely signed a transaction and it is valid, but I can't tell you which one of the group it was.
Right.
Well, that's certainly private. Yeah, only you know where it came from, but no one else does.
Exactly. There's this in the original white paper that introduced ring signatures. They introduced it with the White House dilemma. If there's a bunch of high-ranking officials that want to leak some information that the public should know, then they could create a ring signature, and the public would know it was definitely one of these high-ranking officials, but they couldn't tell which one exactly it was.
Kind of like the article that was written about
whistleblowers and
news, right? And no one knew.
Sorry?
Well, there was an article that came out about Trump that was in like some major publication, and they knew it was from somebody in the inner circle, but no one knew who it was. So what you're describing is the same kind of scenario, right? Yeah,
and I mean, this was introduced a couple of years back, so that was definitely before Trump. Becoming more relevant now, but that's a whole different story. And then the third option is zero knowledge proofs. And there's like a special flavor of zero knowledge proof, which are ZK snarks. That's what we are using. And basically what they allow you is to prove to a verifier that you know something without revealing that knowledge. So you can, there's also a nice analogy. Imagine there's two people sitting at a table, and you're blindfolded, and I give you two balls. They're the same size, same weight, same everything. So you can't feel a difference. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, these two balls are of two different colors. And now I want to prove that statement to you without telling you, hey, they're different colors. So what I do, tell you, hey, put both balls under the table. Now show me one. Put this one back under the table, and now show me one, either the same or the different one, but don't tell me. And because I can see the different colors, the next ball you show me, I can tell you with certainty that this is the same ball or that's a different ball. Well, the first time you won't know if I was lucky, because it was a 50-50% chance. But if we repeat this game like 10 times, then the chance of me getting it right just by luck every time is down to 1 in 1,000. If we repeated that game a couple more times, you could be fairly certain that these balls are indeed of different color, although you've never seen them, and I never told you which one they were. Yeah. I think that's the coolest analogy to explain what zero knowledge is. So you're using like a marker basically that's within the transaction so that you can verify it somehow. Exactly. So basically what we do is we provide a proof to the blockchain, hey, if we were to show you the details of this transaction, you would consider it to be valid, but we're not showing you the details. That's what a zero knowledge proof does. Oh my God. Sure. That's I mean, cool. If you want to really get into the nitty gritty math behind it, there's not very many people that can verify it and understand it, but it works. And I mean, zero knowledge proofs have been known way before blockchain. Mm-hmm. So like the mathematical concept itself has been known for a while. It's just, there was no proper use case for it. Yeah. And I mean, they are computationally quite difficult to produce. So it takes quite a bit of work for your computer to create such a proof. Wow. Sure. But yeah, that's the three classes of privacy that you're working with. And the other example, so yeah, Zcash obviously implemented zero knowledge proofs first. Then you had Z Classic, both have a different model for the founders reward. And then finally we wanted to, so the initial intent of our co-founders was to dashify Z Classic, because they have the treasury model that can fund community proposals, and that was the main objective, to spin off their own project with zero knowledge proofs. Sure. Interesting. So before we go a little bit deeper in, you and Steve have both been referring to it as Zcash. I know we didn't want to do that. Could you talk about why it's now called Horizen and why that switch happened? From Zencash. Zencash, yeah. Sure. Yeah. He just mentioned, in fact, he just mentioned Zcash,
as
Multiple times, yeah.
and yeah, but Zcash being one project and Zencash being another. So
Right.
Yeah. So
we all get confused.
Exactly.
That's the first point. That's the first point. So,
yeah, we got you,
yeah.
Yuri.
Right. Exactly. Both of them.
I've been to a few conferences, and obviously, my colleagues as well. And 50% of people used to ask us, "Hey, what's Zencash? Is it the same as Zcash or Zcash, or
I was confused.
what's the difference?" Or
Classic as well. It was like,
yeah, exactly.
What the hell? Seriously, why is everyone using a Z? Because of the Z.
So that was one. So that was one reason to just not get confused with them anymore.
Sure.
And second reason was that we wanted to get rid of the cash because it kind of felt limiting to the approach we're taking. So we want to be more than just a currency, but enable developers to build on our platform and develop applications on our platform. So the cash didn't really feel suited for that. Sure. And the confusion part.
Right. Which we've just demonstrated a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've done it now, and you've done it, Yuri. So we're classic. Oh no, not Z classic.
And then obviously we decided to keep the little E in the end because there's a bunch of projects all over the place called Horizen, not just blockchain, like in general.
Yes.
It's not the least common name, and this kind of kept our heritage to Zen.
To be honest, actually, the name Horizen, is Z-E-N or Z-E-N at the end, is quite clever in a way because it's showing you kind of like a horizon of the future, where you're going. And of course, that also leads us to the question of we're putting behind us the old, Zencash company. We're moving into this new generation of the Horizen brand. And where is that taking us? What are the plans?
So what we're working on right now heavily is developing a sidechain implementation.
Okay.
That's what our engineering team in Milan is mostly concerned with right now. And so a sidechain is a blockchain in and of itself that can communicate with another blockchain. So in our case, our main proof of work blockchain can communicate with a separate one that can be suited for different purpose. And then we're also building an SDK, so a software development kit, that should allow developers from different projects, different companies, whatever, to build on top of our platform quite easily with libraries where they can choose functions from. So they don't have to build everything from scratch, but they can basically put together different pieces and make their own customized blockchain for whatever needs they want to use it for.
Mm-hmm. It's really
That's the plan for now.
So, so in some respects, I mean, dare I say having this chain connected to a chain with interoperability starts to sound a little bit like Komodo. Would you say that they're in some respects a competitor to you guys, or really going after completely different markets and different solutions and different problems?
I mean, I guess there's there will be an overlap in some parts, but I wouldn't really consider us competition, especially as both platforms are developing open source. So, I mean, they can take some of our code if it works better. We can take some of their code if it works better. So actually, especially when I went to conferences and talked to other blockchain projects, it's not that competitive, to be honest. It's quite collaborative, and oftentimes talk about, hey, what challenges are you trying to solve right now? Hey, we found a nice solution for that. Hey, how did you do it? So, I mean, in the end, we're all kind of trying to get to the same, we have kind of the same values, most of the project in the space, the good ones, making more decentralized future possible. Also allowing like small businesses and stuff to operate with less friction, make software development easier, so make blockchain more accessible in general, because right now you need like a bunch of developers that you won't find because blockchain developers are kind of rare. Mm-hmm. So I did technology is great, but you need to make it more accessible to more people in more industries. And then you want to build nice features that you couldn't achieve before.
Right.
Because that's the main selling point of blockchain, that there's some properties that you just can't do with databases.
So effectively, by building these side chains, you could allow companies to say, hey, we're going to use your SDK, or we're going to use your APIs, and we're going to build our own blockchain that suits our own business needs, but it's connected into the Horizen network to give you the benefit of the mining, the transaction verification,
And you have a native currency.
So what if you don't need a native currency because you're just using it for some company transactions that aren't necessarily related to
some data?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that works as well. You don't have to
Cool.
you don't have to implement the cross-chain transfer protocol. So you can use it to store data safely. That works.
Or
and I mean, for example,
yeah.
for example, you could imagine something like public key registry for something. I mean, just for encrypted email. You have your email address, and then you have a public key, and usually you have to exchange it at some point, so you can actually send encrypted emails back and forth. But you could think of a registry on the blockchain that says, "Hey, email address Jonas Rubel at so and so."
Here's a weird example, right? So if you think about big corporates, everything's centralized. If you get into smaller or mid-sized companies, they don't have their own trusted network between all the computers and all the people. I mean, they're using Google, and that's their main mechanism for email and for how they communicate. They're just using the internet and maybe VPN for something, but most of the stuff tends to be quite open. So what I think I see in that, there's a problem set that I start to see happen in that, which is asset management. And by assets, I mean computers and phones that are being handed out by the company to the employees. So what if you could manage and you talked about the keys, what if I were to manage the licenses of all the hardware for my company by creating a blockchain I just came up with this. I'm just thinking out loud here, but
yeah, sure.
I've got a company, I've got a fleet of 100 laptops, I've got employees scattered all over the world, and I want to just store the keys or the assets of those individuals on my chain, and I'm going to use the Horizen network so I can actually track where those assets are and make sure I can move them from person to person, but I have my asset management effectively stored centrally in the cloud.
Right. Yeah, sure. I mean, because you mentioned fleet of laptops, there's actually a bunch of companies looking into fleet management for cars. And
exactly,
for example, large construction companies that have a bunch of, what do you call those things in English again? That dig holes.
Bulldozers?
Yeah, not really the bulldozers, but bulldozers as well.
The digging, like the big scooping machines.
Yeah, the scooping machine.
Okay.
But scooping machine can't be the proper term anyway.
I think we should go with scooping machines. I think that sounds great.
Yeah. So if you have a bunch of
a title for this episode forming, and it's not
scooping machines.
Announcing scooping machines.
So you can efficiently track where your scooping machines are on which construction site.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a problem.
Never going to hear the end of this, am I, guys?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense, though, because even on like a larger construction sites, there's cranes and a bunch of other, on top of the actual, I've read about some projects happening where they actually being able to pinpoint where the construction workers are for safety reasons, so they don't wander into an area that's that they shouldn't, and then suddenly like a large piece of equipment, whether it's a crane, drops a heavy load around them because it's quite dangerous.
Now there's a bunch of pretty cool use cases for exactly that purpose, like fleet management of whatever kind of device.
Well, so this is great because we've got some real use cases. So for anybody that's listening that wants to say, hey, I've got a small mid-sized company or I want to solve a fleet management problem, get in touch with us on the show. We'll put you in touch with Jonas, and you guys can go and have a conversation about how to deploy something on the Horizen network. Why not?
Sure.
I mean, that's what we're here to do, is to help people figure out how to take technology like this and get it out to the masses. This is a great discussion. I love it.
And while we're at it, what I think is also a really nice use case, this is away from Horizen again, but want to mention it nonetheless. Have you guys heard about, so Mercedes is working on something where they, for now it's going to be opt-in, where you can track your vehicle data, and then in the end, when you want to resell your vehicle, you can prove, hey, I got this data locked on the blockchain, where it says, hey, I never revved the engine up when it was cold. I only did long distance drives, and then in the end, your car is going to retain much more value if you can prove that you maintained it nicely.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting use case as well.
It's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I think we've covered an awful lot about, privacy coins and a lot about Horizen. Is there anything else we want to round off toward here at the end of the episode, just to kind of leave people with anything to think about or any ways they can engage with with Horizen or with your academy as kind of a closing?
Sure. So first of all, come check out our website. I think it's with quite a bunch of information on there on what's happening. Steve mentioned that there's a little bit of information overload, so I'll talk to our guys that we can clean it up a bit.
Yeah, sorry, I gave a little bit of feedback off camera, of course, but it's because I always take pride in going through the projects before I get on, to do the discussions like this. And I mean, feedback is always seen as, if it's valuable and it helps you guys,
And I mean, it's perfectly fine, because if you look at your own website for a while, of course you don't see as many things as somebody that looks at it for the first time again. So always appreciate it. I'd love to have you guys check out the Horizen Academy.
Definitely.
Well, so one thing I'll mention is that, so Yuri and I have actually written a book which will be coming out later in the year, and the book was actually written to help people get started in crypto, and it's probably what you'd call the basic chapters that would fit in very closely with what you were describing. We don't have the tabs for advanced and expert yet.
I definitely want a copy of that book.
Yeah, we'd be happy to give you a copy and to share it with people within your network. I mean, absolutely. And if there's any value in some of the content, of course, we'd be happy to share it with your group, or even to create some specialized content for you within your academy. It's been a big passion of Yuri's and mine too, to create some educational content to help people. And we've got other things cooking in the educational space too that we haven't announced yet. So
let's definitely keep in touch about that.
Cool. I love it.
Sure.
And so obviously our academy is going to launch, and like any other website, in the beginning it won't be perfect. So if you have any good suggestions, if you have any feedback, if you find any bugs, let us know. We've dedicated a special email address for that, academy@horizen.global. And we're really looking forward to get some feedback on it. Also on the content, maybe we messed something up at some point. Let us know. We're happy to. It's going to be work in progress, and it's going to take a while until it's like we imagine it to be. But we wanted to put it out there for now, so we can actually start collecting feedback and make it so that users like it.
Fantastic. That's great. That's really
great. They get value out of it. Yeah,
for sure. Well, thank you, Jonas. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show, and certainly we'd love to have you back once the Academy's out for a while and people have had some time to give feedback and use it. We'll certainly engage with you in further conversations as well.
That was a pretty good talk here.
Thank you.
It was. Thank you, Jonas.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So, Yuri, is there anything else you'd like to say? Any closing remarks before we go?
No, I think I'm good for now. Thank you.
Oh, no, there's one thing we didn't talk about, in fact, which is, actually, I'd like to just ask real quick because it's on my mind. What's your view, Jonas, about the relationship between privacy coins and tax? We talked about it earlier, and I completely forgot I wanted to talk about this with you. So just real quick before we jump off here.
Also for the other audience, we talked about this quite a bit before, and all of us agreed on that. And it's actually my opinion, privacy or cryptocurrencies and privacy coins in general will probably force the authorities to think about taxation again, because some of the existing models of taxation won't work in the new financial system. And actually that's a good thing, because I think especially looking at more machines, the IoT world, machine-to-machine communication, and artificial intelligence, like you have to tax machines. And cryptocurrency actually allow you to do that quite efficiently. But they have to put a lot of thought into how to make this work together, because I think digital money, like decentralized digital money, is inevitable in the midterm. Mid to long term.
In English, we say the groundswell that's building up, and we're kind of we're an unstoppable force of people in nature now that are pushing in crypto and in blockchain. And if people wanted to stop us, I think they're too late now. There's too many of us involved and engaged in this, moving things ahead. And I think it's great to see that there's projects like what you guys are doing to really push the boundaries and helping us to move things forward. I think it's great. So thanks for that. So thanks, Jonas. Thanks very much for taking the time out today. I know you're a busy guy. You've got a lot of things to do. You've got an academy to keep building now that we've got it out publicly, which is amazing. So thank you very much for joining us today on the Coin Chat. And thank you everybody today for listening in and watching. Don't forget to give us a subscribe or a like, because Horizen is a really cool project. Until next time, to the moon.